Hey guys, this is Naveen here. Welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs. And this video is actually to notify you about a new batch on Selenium and Java, which we are starting from 16th of May this month, 8:30 a.m. IST or 8 p.m. PST. You can check the timings in US and UK accordingly. And registrations are open now. And this is the complete course content, the timing, the fee detail, everything is mentioned over here. You just need to go to this particular URL, www.automationlabs.com, Selenium training batch, or you can just directly come back here in the live training, click on this first link here. This batch is very special. We are starting this new boot camp with a lot of good new things. And according to New Selenium 4, a lot of new features that we have added in this particular course content. It's one of the best course content, I'll tell you, in the market as of now with respect to Selenium, with respect to learning programming, learning proper Java object-oriented, with the proper implementation in Selenium, with the modern way of writing the code, the way we design the framework, different types of framework approaches, and CI/CD infrastructure setup with the cloud, AWS, CI/CD, Jenkins, GitHub action that also we have added this time now. And then we are going to cover with proper end-to-end framework with project explanation and everything here. So I'll just go through what exactly the syllabus and the course content, and you can write in the comment section if you really want to join or your friends or colleagues, they want to join, they can enroll for this particular training. The process is very, very straightforward. You just need to register and enroll for the training, go to the course content, and then just simple register for it. Why Selenium with Java? Is still Selenium with Java is very, very popular in the market because of community support, because of you can see a recent survey on my LinkedIn post also. Like 3 days back, I put a survey on LinkedIn that which one you prefer. 70% people is still preferring Selenium with Java and Selenium with the specific framework design patterns and everything because of the popularity, because of the community support, because of the are like very stable tool, and the company, they really don't want to migrate to some other automation tools because they are really, really happy with Selenium here. So that's why my main intention is to make sure that, okay, you are comfortable with the Selenium UI automation tool. Later on in your career, if you really want to learn about other automation tools or the different types of automation and testing, different tools you want to learn, you can learn it later. But if you are a manual tester, if you're coming from manual testing background, or if you don't have any automation experience, if you really want to grow your career in automation, because see, these days automation is a mandatory thing. It's very well proven, it's not a bubble, and it's very well proven that every job description in the market these days, if you see, written with automation, Selenium, designing of the framework, CI/CD, Jenkins, Maven, GitHub repository processes and everything, you should know about it. Otherwise, they will not entertain you much. If you really want to secured a really good position in the market with a good package, with good company, with good profile, designation, and everything, I think you have to add these extra skills in your profile, in your resume. That's very much important here. Manual testing is also important, but you have to add the flavor of automation so that you can improve your testing process and then automation, and you can implement the automation properly to improve the automation and the testing process here. So the training is all about, first, we have to cover Java, because without programming, without core Java, we cannot proceed further. It's very important. People do a mistake here. They directly jump into the framework part. They say, Naveen, please don't cover anything. Just directly complete the framework in 2 days or 5 days. We cannot cover that. You cannot learn any single line of code in Selenium without a basics understanding of, or basics of programming understanding in Java or any whatever the programming language that you are learning. In this program, we are learning with the Java. We are going to cover a lot of good examples with respect to Java. We start from the beginning, which Java JDK version you really need to support with Selenium, Jenkins, Maven, GitHub, and Docker and everything later on. So we are going to cover that part from the beginning itself. How to write the basic code, how to write the optimized code, what are different ways of writing the code, generic functions and everything. We are going to cover that, like the string classes. There are so many small concepts are there that will be helpful while writing the optimized code, while writing the generic code, while solving a complex problem, or you are defining a use case in the automation. That will help you a lot if you are really good in programming, like for when to use for loop, when to use while loop, what do you mean by streams, what do you mean by lambda, how to create a different types of collections. APIs are available in Java, like hash map, linked hash map, tree map, when to use array, when to use array list, and everything we are going to cover properly here. My training is all about practical training. There is no, I would say, theoretical thing or no fancy PPTs. We always cover whatever is required for the real-time project point of view plus interview crack point of view. Definitely, it's going to help you a lot. If you are looking for the training only for interview, please don't join it because we are covering end to end. We are covering that how exactly we work in real-time projects because actual thing will start when you join a company and when you go there and then you work in the real-time projects with the team. So if you learn with this way, you can easily crack interviews. But if your mindset is only just to crack interview by covering some few basic things, that is not going to help you in automation, especially, right? So that's why we have covered Java into two parts, like all the basics of core Java, and then we have covered all the advanced part with respect to object oriented. What do you mean by polymorphism, inheritance, encapsulation, overloading, overriding, abstract classes, interfaces, composition, and everything. Various different things of practical examples we have covered here. We have covered like full-fledged collection APIs also, like array list, hash map, linked hash map, hash table, tree map, and the hash set and everything that we have. We are going to cover it over here. We are going to use Eclipse and IntelliJ both. So Eclipse, we are going to use it with Java and the Selenium practice, but framework development point of view, we are going to go with the IntelliJ so that you will get the flavor of both the IDE. So that's easy to use. Some people are using Eclipse, some companies are using IntelliJ. So you will get the flavor of both the IDEs over here. And then we will start the Selenium 4.x version. A lot of people, they are having this confusion that, okay, Naveen, are you going to cover with the 3 or X? If you're learning 3 and 2, or somebody is teaching you 3 and 2, that is absolutely wrong, guys. It's been around more than 2 years, Selenium 4 in the market. In fact, after Selenium 4.6, people are still not aware of it. People are still not using the concept of Selenium Manager. We have an auto binary management in Selenium 6. Complete new architecture, we have it with Selenium 4.x version. So we are going to cover always with the latest version of Selenium. What are the new things are there in Selenium 4? Like relative locators, new CDPs are there. Some changes with respect to Actions API, some changes with respect to a paint frame that they have added. The screenshot mechanism also they have improved with respect to specific web element, screenshot and everything. Plus, there are few changes happened in the explicitly wait and the implicitly wait mechanism and the definition as well. Relative locators also that they have added. Plus, Selenium grid architecture with respect to 4, like they have added the concept of queue and distribution and the way a lot of new things that they have added with respect to 4 grid. So that is also we are going to cover with that. Right. So how to learn Selenium? That is the most important thing, that you have to learn all the core features of Selenium, like what do you mean by web element? What do you mean by WebDriver? What do you mean by different typecasting options? How to launch a specific browser with old version, new version, stable version, beta version, dev version, and everything, so that we can implement when we design the framework properly. So we are going to cover like all the browser navigation commands, all the WebDriver commands. And then the most important thing, we are going to cover various methods with respect to web element. That's like very, very important. Like, what do you mean by finding an element? What do you mean by a specific locator? How to write a right locator strategy? So I'll make you perfect in CSS selector and the XPath strategy, that how to create the locators and everything. And then after these 4 or 5 sessions of XPath and CSS, we take 4 sessions only for XPath and CSS. That will make you genius in XPath and CSS. You can crack and you can write the XPath and CSS or any kind of locator for any kind of application. Either it is React application, Angular application, Vue, jQuery, or any kind of complex JavaScript framework people are using it. You can easily write the XPath and the right CSS for that. We never use simple application. We always use simple to advanced application, complex to complex components, complex web table with the pagination, complex, let's say, drop downs, jQuery, bootstrap drop downs. We never cover that, okay, one dummy page is there or login page is there and we just try to log in and that's it. No, because in real time, things are totally different. So this is how that we cover in the training as well. I'll give you so many examples, so many URLs for every concept. I have 2 to 3 URLs. We are going to practice on that. And then the most important thing in my training is that creation of the utilities and the functions. We don't use direct Selenium methods. We always create a wrapper on top of it. Like, for example, if you really want to do a dot click or dot send keys method, but what if I'm passing a blank value? What if I'm passing a null value? What if I really want to handle error and the exception also inside that particular method, which is not implemented by Selenium. What if I'm really clicking on a specific, let's see, disable button or disable element text field is there, I'm trying to enter a value. And what if there is a no null check in that? What is exception handling is not done properly? What if I really want to pass an array? What if I really want to pass as a form of character sequence? So we have to cover in a specific function. So this is my Selenium code. On top of that, I'll write my function, which is internally calling .click method, .sendKeys method and everything. And then this is how we work in the real-time projects also. So that's very important. Majority of the people, they do a mistake here that they directly start learning Selenium with the basic methods like driver.findElement, by.xpath, by.id. Fine. This is a very linear way of writing the program. But when we run or when we design the frameworks, when we design the components or the utilities or the libraries in real-time projects, in some almost every company we are using now the wrapper function on top of that. We have to create our own utilities, which is we have to create our own generic functions or application dependent functions, like for the web table, how to select a specific value from the specific row and the column and then click on it and then return something over there. So this is how you have to learn that how exactly I can create a library on top of Selenium with my own implementation. So this is what very important to learn. So that's why the entire training that we cover here, like web element, locator strategy, element identification, some complex to complex scenarios like different web table, checkboxes, radio buttons inside the web table, right? We have to cover with the generic utilities and the functions. Okay. Don't learn Selenium with the plain script. That is not going to help you in the real-time projects. Plus, at the time of interview also, you can easily impress if you are explaining the things properly with the proper, the way you have implemented in the real-time projects. Because if you're coming from the manual testing background, if you're coming from, let's say, non-automation background or non-IT background, it will be helpful after the training to justify your experience or your learning about automation, so that you are giving an impression at a time of interview to the interviewer that, okay, yes, I'm aware of it and I'm ready for the job. It's not like, because these days interviews are also very competitive. They're also not asking very basic few questions. Okay, tell me about .click method or .quit method or .close method. They're talking about the architecture level. They're talking about the library level. How will you design the framework? How will you design the new utilities? How will you implement or update the existing utilities or existing functions? How to do that? This is the level of interviews, plus the same way you have to work in the real-time projects as well. So remember, this is very, very important here. There's a lot of confusion about Selenium waits, alerts API, switching the windows and everything. There's still like people, they don't have any idea that how to use proper explicitly wait, implicitly wait, and the WebDriver wait and the Fluent wait in the form of explicitly wait. There's still people are confused about the different types of wait in Selenium with respect to Ajax component, dynamic components, dynamic IDs are there, how to wait for the specific element, non-web element, title, URL, pop-ups, drop-down frames, windows. You can wait for everything. In fact, you can wait for the file downloading and uploading also. This feature is also available in Selenium with the help of Fluent Wait. So we are going to cover that as well. So these are the real-time scenarios that we always cover with these unique features like Selenium Wait and everything. How to create your own custom wait, that also we are going to cover with that. Then a lot of new changes happened with respect to actions classes internally with respect to W3C WebDriver in Selenium 4. So we are going to cover all the keyboard actions, mouse actions, some out-of-the-box scenarios like complex drag and drop, signature on the canvas. And then I would say like right click, double click, right context, and then using .click and .sendKeys method with the actions class. When to use actions class, what is the use case with that? So we are going to cover with that, with the proper mouse over, proper mouse movement, keyboard actions, drag and drop, we are going to cover in this particular part. So like 1 to, if you see that up to 12, all are different various Selenium concepts that I have mentioned over here. Relative locators, everything is mentioned. I have written it. You can just go through it. I'm not going to cover like right now each and every bullet point here. And then a lot of other like browser profiling. What do you mean by Chrome options, Edge options, Firefox options, like how to disable a specific option in the browser. That also we can do with the Chrome options, Firefox option, like incognito, headless mode, how to disable the notification pop-up, cookies pop-up and everything. We are going to cover with that part. Then recently I have listed a couple of complex UI scenarios here, like how to handle the Ajax component with the explicitly wait and the Fluent wait, how to handle complex calendars. Very, very important. We are going to cover that. Different use cases we can define with the calendars. And there are various types of calendars are there. We are going to cover that. How to handle complex web table with the pagination. Like there is a web table and you have to keep clicking on next, 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 or one, two, three, and next and previous. How to navigate? Let's see, my element is there on the fifth page or last page or the first page. How exactly I'm going to iterate this entire web table and then finding the respective element, because this is a very common feature in every application. So we are going to cover those things as well. Some infinite page loading, like page scrolling on LinkedIn, Facebook, food delivery apps, like maybe Zomato is there or Swiggy is there. We have to keep scrolling down on LinkedIn or Facebook or infinite scrolling. And the moment you see my post on LinkedIn, you have to click on it. So how to handle these kind of scenarios as well. New things are there in the UI like Shadow DOM, SVG element, when to use, which locator we have to use for Shadow DOM and SVG element, what is the difference, how to handle it properly, what is the best way of handling it, SVG element and the Shadow DOM. Definitely we are going to cover with very complex scenarios like nested Shadow DOM inside iframe inside Shadow DOM. Complex SVG graphs are there, right? Some graphs are there written with the SVG element. We are going to cover that as well. Complex frames, iframes, nested iframes, which is also very complex. When to use what? In fact, Selenium 4, they have added a new method like driver.switch2.parent frame in Selenium 4. But when to use parent frame, we are going to cover that as well. Complex pseudo elements. I'll show you what do you mean by pseudo elements. You must have seen if there is a, let's see, on the registration form, first name is a mandatory field because of the star. That is, this star is actually a pseudo element. How to get the text, how to identify that first name is the mandatory element or mandatory field. So such use cases also we can handle it with Selenium. We will cover with the proper JavaScript executor and everything. We are going to use it here. Page weight use cases or element weight use cases, both are very important. Like when we have to make sure that, okay, element is available, then only we have to click on it. That is called element weight, right? So for example, let's see if I'm looking for a specific image or button on the page. What if button is coming after 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 20 seconds? Then in that case, we have to apply the proper element weight or custom weight we have to apply in the form of explicitly weight or the fluent weight we have to apply. Same thing for the page also. Once the page is completely ready, so there is a concept like document or ready state in the DOM. We can apply that. We can inject this particular JavaScript and you can check once the document dot ready state is giving me complete or in progress or loading or something. Once it is completed, then only I have to interact with the element. So these are the techniques we can use it with the proper way to make sure that, okay, we are not getting flaky test cases or we are avoiding the flaky test cases over here, right? So once all these complex UI test cases, Selenium things, concepts are covered, then we are going to cover with the advanced Selenium or framework designing part. We are going to cover TestNG because it's very, very popular with respect to writing the test cases. We are not going to cover JUnit. TestNG is more popular, but if you know TestNG, you can easily cover JUnit also later if you really want to cover that. In TestNG also, there are so many new hidden features or new things are there, like TestNG listeners, TestNG, annotations, different varieties of annotations, grouping, dependency, reporting, plus multi-browser execution. And we are going to cover that, integration with the Allure report and the extend report with respect to TestNG listeners. How to create your own custom listener also, we are going to cover that. Plus parallel testing. What do you mean by thread group? What do you mean by running the test cases in the parallel mode at the class level, method level, at the group level? How can we execute that? So we are going to cover a lot of good things with the TestNG. And once your TestNG part is done, then we are going to cover about the automation framework. In automation framework, various approaches with the different design patterns. Like we are going to follow single responsibility principle with the page object model. It's a complete data-driven plus hybrid framework we are going to create. We are going to create various utilities like element util, JavaScript util, CSV reader, JSON reader, Excel reader, and Log4j APIs. We are going to use it for that. We are going to create some custom utilities for the reporting also. We are going to cover with that. We are going to have a couple of scenarios with respect to database also, how to create a DB utility to get the data from the database and use it in your script so that we can easily interact with that. So Selenium is not going to make the connection with the database. We have to write a custom Java code for that, which is interacting with the MySQL database or Oracle or any NoSQL database, fetching the data and using it in your script. We are going to cover that as well. So we are going to design a complete framework part. I quickly show you that how exactly the framework will look like. So this is the framework design I always show in my training also. Each and every code I'll write in front of you. We never copy paste the code. We never use any existing code which is already there. I always write the code during the session in front of you guys. And this is how you learn properly. So this is a complete design, like how to design the page objects. What do you mean by driver factory or driver managers, options managers, how to run the test cases in the multiple environment, how to design the test cases, what is the right way of writing the test cases, how to create the assertions, soft assertion, hard assertions, the proper use case of composition, inheritance, proper use case of method overloading, overriding, when to use interface, when to use abstract class, when to use a normal class, when to use a POSO class, we are going to cover in the designing part. And you can see this section number 6. This is complete utility part, like JavaScript util, element util, Excel util, error handling, proper constants we are maintaining in the form of enum and everything. We are going to cover with that. And this is your test data, maintain in Excel file or JSON file or maybe some CSV file. These are my runners. This is the reporting part. For reporting, we are going to cover LR report and the extent report. So this is the complete design with the proper Maven lifecycle we are going to cover with that. So I have like listed all the points here. You can just go through it. Now the real thing will start once the framework is done. After that, how will you run the test cases? How will you trigger your test cases? That's very, very important here. So what we cover various infrastructure part also. So for example, that first of all, we have to cover GitHub. This is the major problem with a lot of automation engineers, that they don't know how to use GitHub or source code management properly, like how to check in, check out, push, pull, when to create a branch, what do you mean by feature branch, what do you mean by master branch, what do you mean by PR, how to raise a PR, how to make sure that, okay, my code is getting merged to the main branch or master branch after the approval of the PR, right? Let's say, for example, if I'm working in a company and I have to work with 5 other different people. They are also writing the login method. I'm also working on the login page. So I have to make sure that, okay, there are no conflicts are happening. They are also creating a utility. So I have to use their utility. It means I have to get the latest pull in my master, and from my master to my feature, I have to merge locally. So this is what everyday routine activities you have to do in your real-time projects when you work in the real-time projects. So you have to learn GitHub properly. So we have 3 to 4 sessions only for GitHub, where we are going to cover branching, local branching process, remote branching process, PR process, feature branches. A lot of good things are there in the GitHub. We are going to cover that. Because at the time of interview, they will not ask basic commands of Git. They will ask, tell me about your PR process. How exactly you're going to create a branch? What is your pull process? Tell me about that, right? So this is because otherwise it will be a totally mess. If you push the wrong code, if you're not able to merge the code properly, then it will be a problem in the real-time projects. Make sure that you are learning these things as well. Now we are going to cover Jenkins server, which will get the repository data or repository source code from the repository. And then we are going to talk about configuration, jobs, CI/CD pipeline, declarative pipeline syntax, blue ocean pipeline. We are going to talk about how to schedule a particular job. What if I really want to run my test cases at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, or every 10 minutes I want to run my test cases? So we are going to cover like a lot of good things about Jenkins, how to generate the report, how to send the email, and everything. We are going to cover that part here, right? Now, once the Jenkins part is done, we have to cover like how exactly you're going to run your test cases. So we have to create a complete browser lab, a complete infrastructure, so that we can run the test cases on Chrome, Firefox, Edge browser. So for that, we have to understand the Selenium grid part. And then for that, we have to use the Docker. So we are going to cover Dockerized grid. And there are some custom grids are there in the market, like Selenium is there, Selenoid is there. You can create your own browser lab with the grids, with different version of Chrome, Firefox, and the Edge browser versions. You can use it here. See, I mentioned it over here. And then you can host it on the remote machine or maybe some server, or you can host it on the cloud also, where you can just directly run the test cases on the cloud like AWS or GCP or Microsoft Azure. You can use it over here. So we are going to cover one cloud, that is AWS. I tell you what are different services like compute service or Lambda service that we have to use to create a VM, and take a Linux machine on that cloud and set up the Dockerized grid and run the test cases. So this is a very, very interesting learning. I'm telling you, this will help you a lot to justify your experience, plus a very practical knowledge about the Git, Jenkins, CI/CD, Cloud, ngrok proxy, and everything we are going to cover in this particular part, right? So most of the people, they just leave the things or just assume that, okay, once we design the framework, work is done. No, we are not going to run the test cases in local every time, right? Local running, local execution, running the test cases in the local means just for the development work. We are developing something, writing the code and checking browser is getting open, running the test cases. That's it. But what if we five people are running together on the common machine on a common server and everyone is hitting that particular server and launching the browser on the cloud with the help of Docker? This is what the real-time thing we have to learn it over here, right? So I have mentioned all these things. You can see Jenkins, GitHub, and everything. Complete Maven lifecycle also we have covered, like how to create your own build. In product-based companies, you have to create the build, you have to create a jar, you have to host the jar on the Nexus, you have to create a fat jar and everything. Complete Maven lifecycle you have to achieve. So all those things we are going to cover. I have mentioned here as well. The complete Docker part. What do you mean by Docker composers? Docker, the grid with respect to Selenoid, custom grid, simple grid, Selenium 4 grid, we are going to cover that. How to set up your own browser lab with different browser versions. You don't need to go with the vendors like Lambda Test or Sauce Labs. You don't need to pay for it. You can easily create your own browser lab in your local, in your company infrastructure, in your company network, on your own cloud you can set up, and then you can go with that. Then the AWS part also we have covered that. So this is like all the different points I have written. Go with that. Lifetime access on all the recorded videos, free code repositories, you will be getting it. You will have the, every day you will be getting the recorded video. The timings will be 8:30 a.m. in the morning for India and 8 p.m. PST for US. You can check the timing accordingly in EST and CST also. I have already mentioned here on this page. And then all the Java code. There are around 250 PDFs, resume templates, ebooks, interview preparation notes, and everything also will be given to you with the lifetime access. And whenever there is a new video or new concepts are there with respect to Selenium or framework or any specific technology or feature, we are going to release a new version and that will be given to you. So for example, after 6 months also, if you really want to brush up or revise the things, you can go through with the videos and you can learn it. It's not like that you will get the access only within the training part. No, with the lifetime access, you don't need to pay anything for the lifetime access. Just only one-time payment for the, obviously for the training payment that you have to pay. And that's it. After that, you don't need to pay anything for the future videos and for the future training. Okay. So that's all. You just go through it. Let me know in case of any issues in the comment section. And we are starting from 16th May, very special boot camp. And one boot camp we just finished. A couple of people already got the jobs, applying for the jobs in the market. The response is really, really great in the market now. Market is again up and running. You can see a lot of job posts are on social media, on LinkedIn, and people are getting multiple offers. So it's a very right time. Utilize your time, spend time on your learning, and keep learning from Naveen Automation. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.